Hi, this is Kevin Conroy, and you're listening to the Geekcast Radio Network.
You are now on the inside of what I like to call the circle of trust.
We are all connected in the great circle of life.
You know something, Bert? What? I think you and I are going in circles.
It feels like we're going in circles.
The circle is now complete. When I left you, I was but the learner. Now I am the master.
Because it's a circle.
Yeah, we heard about the circle.
Yes, we're familiar with shapes.
Hi, this is Chuck.
This is Greg.
And this is Dan, and we are Talking in Circles, brought to you by the Geekcast Radio Network, the podcast that is always ready to rumble. This week,
let's get ready to rumble!
And no, that's not Michael Buffer. That is Greg Beppler. But your names do kind of sound alike.
Hello, everybody! Let's get ready to fucking podcast!
Now that's going to catch on like wildfire. For those that are still listening, the reason I say that is because today we have a podcast where we're dedicating to those also classic Who Would Win in a Fight. You know, you've done them before. You've listened to them. I think they get the point, Greg.
Okay, sorry.
We appreciate the enthusiasm for sure, but you know, you've had those classic arguments: who would win in a fight, your dad or your friend's dad, or who would win in a fight, Batman or the mailman. You know, those classic.
Who would win in a fight, Amelia Clark or Emily Ratajkowski?
We all would win in that fight, Greg.
We all would, yes. No Linda Hamilton though. No Linda Hamilton. I've been catching beef for my Linda Hamilton opinions.
Linda Hamilton would win that fight. Anyways, we'll get to more classic matchups later in the show. But before we get to all of that, how's the week been going for you guys?
Pretty good, actually. I had another busy week doing stuff, that crappy real life stuff around the house. But I did have a couple of funny things happen this week, and one was just something. Well, they're both really quick things, but the one was where I work at my office. Our company has developed an employees association that you can join. And the employee membership, for some reason, costs you $10 to join.
Fair enough.
Okay, that makes sense. So I thought that was kind of funny. We have clothing on there with our logos and stuff. You get shirts and hats and all this other stuff, and it's pretty
that
expensive
also costs
too.
Money?
Yeah, it's actually fairly expensive, which is kind of funny.
They're bringing back indentured servitude.
It's yeah, you're an employee. We appreciate you. Join this employee association, and it's oh, you have to pay $10 to get this cool membership card and all this other crap. So yeah, I thought that was kind of funny. I got a good chuckle out of that.
Sounds like a Ponzi scheme. It's well, you too can be a part of this. All we need is $10 from you, and then we get $10 from someone else. It's wait.
it could be worse. To join up with the JLA, you have to pay $100 to get a membership.
Well, now that I think of it, that may not have been an email sanctioned by my company. So,
was it from a Nigerian prince by any chance?
Oh yeah, how'd you know?
I don't know.
The name was Cake 6. No. And well, the other thing was in my office. They're replacing some carpeting this week, so they're running these machines that are chewing up the carpet and tearing it up and everything.
Wow.
Yeah, and
are they called carpet munchers? Because that would be hilarious.
Yeah, that's. I was telling the guys that too.
Do the carpets going to match the drapes?
No, oddly enough, they don't match, and they're both hideous.
Oh.
But so they're ripping out this carpet and everything, and it's funny because some rooms are getting carpet and others aren't, but the ones that are getting it, all our shit is in the hallways. So it's like so packed. Like if there was a fire, like people would just pile up into a great big dam and no one would get out. But the funny part is they're putting down the new carpet and it comes in these like 3 foot by 3 foot squares, and they put it down with this like really crazy like adhesive stuff. And so I was kind of like, and it smells like it just fills up the whole like office with this smell. And I was walking by the one guy the other day, and it was like really strong smell, and I'm like, wow, looks like I picked the wrong week to quit sniffing glue. It just reminded me of that. It is so awful. Gosh. And I'm like, most places kind of wait till, work is out and they do the remodeling. You just do it while everybody's in there, no big deal.
Let's close all the windows and put the fumes on and see how this goes.
Let's just get everybody high and see what kind of crazy stuff we can crank out,
That's awesome. Yeah,
it's always fun.
Greg, how's your week been going?
First things first, Dan. I'm the realist. Drop this and let the whole world feel it. And I'm still in the murder business. I could hold you down like I'm giving lessons in physics. You should want a bad bitch like this. Drop it low and pick it up like this. Cup of ace, cup of goose, cup of Chris. High heels, something worth a half ticket on my wrist. Talking all the liquor straight, never chase that, Dan. Rooftop like we bring in 88 back. Bringing the hooks in, where the bass at? Champagne spilling. You should taste that. I'm so fancy, Dan. I just wanted you to know. I'm in the fast lane from Scranton to Baltimore. I'm so fancy. Can't you taste this gold? Remember my name. Bout to blow. Thank you. And good night.
So you've been listening to a lot of Vanilla Ice? Is that what's going on?
No, it's that blonde chick that has that rap song out.
I was going to say, Greg, what are you doing in my office sniffing the glue?
For this episode, Greg's going to talk all rap. Somehow incorporate. What song? I have no idea. Is that the one that Weird Al parodied like this week?
Yes, I'm so handy. Yes.
Yeah.
So handy.
You would enjoy it, Chuck. He's talking about how he's so good at like home repairs and stuff, and it's kind of like he's got a home repair business going on.
I'll have to check that out.
I know who you're talking about. I forget her name, but she always just something
Iggy
about
Azalea.
her. Yeah, she just looks like, no, you just should go away. I don't know. It's like you look like Lady Gaga and Kesha had a kid, and it came out stupid. Not
so as expected.
Yeah, pretty much.
But yeah, as you can tell by that statement, I have been up to absolutely nothing.
Well, researching cool rap songs, I guess.
Yeah, that took me about 2 seconds to come up with.
I thought you were like writing your own completely there. I was like, that's pretty impressive.
Those lines brought to you by Greg Beppler.
Epic rap battles of history. Wait, I'm gonna go take a break and I'm gonna come back with one. No.
Anyways, well, on the news tidbit, not much has been going around in my neck of the woods, but I did get some cool news. It feels like a long time ago, probably about a month by this time. I talked about a book that I read called Leviathan Wakes, which is a part of this Expanse series. And news dropped recently that it's actually being made into a TV series, which is kind of exciting, starring Thomas Jane, the Punisher, which is definitely exciting. Fortunately, it's on the Sci-Fi Channel, so I don't know if that's a good thing.
They do all right sometimes, Dan.
Yeah, I mean, I heard good things about Alphas and Warehouse 13.
Warehouse 13 was really good. I watched that, and I watched Eureka on there. That was really good too.
I heard good things about Helix. I have not seen that, but
I haven't seen that either.
Yeah, that has me excited though. I mean, I know I had Power, but I don't know. I talked about a book, and now it's a TV series, so I don't know. See how that goes.
They should really hire us already, Dan. I'm sick of them stealing our ideas. It's
I know.
ridiculous.
It's like taking someone's rap lyrics and just saying them out loud like they're your own.
Right?
I know.
I hate those bastards that do that.
Those people are ridiculous.
We need a copyright app that we could just immediately copyright stuff as soon as we say it on here.
There's not a copyright app.
Because that stuff doesn't take a long time or anything to get.
No. That's just a couple clicks. That's all you need.
Yeah.
Anyways, Chuck, have you been up to anything else besides sniffing glue and carpet munchers?
So
when you put it that way, that doesn't make me... No. I did see a movie on TV this week that I wasn't expecting to find again. A lot of times I just flip through and kind of see what's on, and I'm like, oh, let's check this out. And this is a movie that I have never seen, and I felt really, really guilty for never seeing it because I feel like I'm the only one, because a lot of people kind of grew up like knowing about this and seeing it and everything. And that is, of course, RoboCop.
Wow, nice.
I have never seen it either, Chuck.
Oh, really? Wow, okay, so I don't feel so bad now.
So,
No.
Greg, you haven't seen Predator, RoboCop, or Terminator?
Yeah.
Jeez, we got to get you
just
some
hate
like
80s sci-fi? No.
Well, I wouldn't call all of the, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's like that sci-fi action like
Yeah,
hybrid that happened a lot during the 80s.
I think it's more actiony than sci-fi for the most part.
Yeah, it's like Dan said, it's kind of a bit of a mashup. But
yeah,
part of the reason I never watched it was because I always thought it would be incredibly corny and everything, and I just didn't think I would be into it. But I gotta say, I liked it a lot, actually. It was much better than I expected it to be all these years. And it's funny because it takes place in future Detroit, which they nailed that set design pretty well, to be honest. It's compared to the current state of the city. They portrayed in the movie that, in the future Detroit would be this crumbling infrastructure with all these rundown warehouses, and I don't know how the hell they knew that, but they nailed it.
Yeah,
pretty funny. But see, and the movie didn't I guess that's one knock against it. I mean, it's supposed to take place in the future, but it still seems just too present. The only thing futuristic is RoboCop himself. Nothing else is really futuristic, it doesn't seem like, but I guess you gotta use your imagination a little bit.
I think that's more so it's the opposite view of people when it comes to the future. I guess it's more of a pessimistic view of the future where it's like, Back to the Future during that time, it's, we have hoverboards and shoes that, that tie it themselves. And this is it's just kind of dirtier. And that's the future that we're in.
It's more realistic of what the future would be in some places.
Yeah.
So that was kind of a cool, angle of it. But I actually liked the tone of this movie all the way through. It kind of, I guess, demanded some respect from me, I would say. I was watching this and I'm like, oh, let's see how corny this is. Maybe it'll be a good laugh or something. But I actually was into it, and it was a pretty fun movie. There was a little bit of a corny part with those, I guess they're ED-209 droids or something like that.
Yeah, ED-209.
Some of their movements were pretty corny and pretty bad stuff with that CG. But
it's the stop motion animation. What's his name?
Harryhausen.
Yeah, the guy who did all the stuff first. He did the same thing in Star Wars. He did a lot of this.
It wasn't Harryhausen, by the way.
No.
Harryhausen's the grandfather of all stop motion.
Yeah.
It looked like a lot of that same stuff. It honestly had the same exact look.
Greg, do you like Starship Troopers?
Yeah, I watched the first one. It was all right. It was pretty bad, but I think it was supposed to look pretty bad. Yeah,
it's done by Peter, Van Hoven, and he loves his satire. I mean, it's not meant to be it's obviously meant. It's not just a straightforward hey, this is just RoboCop or this is just Starship Troopers. It's very much a satire. I mean, I doubt if you watch it on TV, Chuck, the violence. I don't know. Well, you guess you can get away with anything on TV now when it comes to violence, but the violence in RoboCop is just so over the top that it becomes kind of almost darkly humorous in some instances. Like, especially with when he becomes RoboCop and basically just gets annihilated. Like, his hand gets blown off. It was rather disturbing.
I ended up watching that on YouTube. I think they kind of left a little bit of that out on the TV, but I ended up watching that scene on YouTube, and it was like, wow, this is pretty crazy, over the top. But
there's also 2 cuts to it, because there's the studio cut, and then, which is almost hard to find anymore, and then there's the director's cut, which is, you can see what he was really trying to go for there. So
yeah, and it was funny the fact that he got shot 34 times by shotguns and he's still alive.
Yeah, exactly.
Take that, 50 Cent.
It was very reminiscent of the Toxic Avenger violence, kind of.
Yeah. It's
over the top.
Definitely exploitive in a lot of ways.
Yeah, but I did enjoy seeing Red Foreman in there as the villain. That was kind of funny.
Yeah.
I was waiting for him to put a boot in RoboCop's ass, but they said this was kind of the movie too that propelled his acting career into action and villain roles and stuff like that, because he did take some parts after this that people really liked him in this and everything. And I know he took a small role in one of the Rambo movies or something like that, which wasn't particularly a action role for him, but a lot of people liked him and how he did in this movie and everything. And I thought he was pretty good too. He definitely made a good bad guy. After knowing him from 70 Show, it was kind of funny to see him in this, but I'm sure it'd be better to see it the other way around. But yeah, that was funny. And then also having I guess you'd call it the main bad guy who worked for the police department be the guy from one of the guys from the Beverly Hills Cop movie. That was kind of funny, because I was used to seeing him kind of as a good guy, so seeing him play a bad guy was kind of interesting.
Yeah.
But I do love the ending too. I won't give it away either because Greg might want to see it, but just the ending, I'll say the thing that the guy says at the end, it's pretty cool. I liked how that all turned out. But the one thing I wanted to mention a couple of things too about I guess trivia wise on the movie. I guess the suit that Peter Weller wore for this movie, he was losing 3 pounds a day from water loss because it was so hot in that suit.
Oh, that sounds awful.
I know. So they actually had to put an air conditioner in the suit to keep him cool and stuff, which is craziness. And it's funny because once they got all the suit on him, they realized he was too bulky to fit in the cop car. So for the scenes when he was getting in or out of the cop car, they cut it there as he was getting in. They didn't show the whole thing of him getting into the car because he couldn't. And for the scenes that he actually had to drive the car, he was only wearing the suit from the waist up, and he was basically sitting in his underwear driving the car. I thought that was pretty funny.
That's how I drive my car. I don't know about you guys.
That does sound like a Greg RoboCop, party up top, pantsless below,
That's kind of how I am actually right now. I have a t-shirt on and boxer shorts.
Well, there you go.
Excellent visual there.
No problem. I could help you out more. They're Christmas boxer shorts. That say they have a North Pole, a candy cane North Pole, and it's
I don't want to know where it is.
it says where the magic happens.
This episode of Talking in Circles brought to you in 3D.
Oh,
but that's pretty funny. So yeah, that was funny. And then there was a scene where he's kind of coming down the steps into this club, and the music was really loud, and there was kind of this fog kind of going on, and he couldn't look down because he's in the persona of a robot, so he couldn't look down going down these steps. And he said it was super awkward trying to go down, so he had to do the take over and over again until he got it right. So it was kind of clumsy and everything. So I love finding out that stuff about movies because it just gives you a little peek behind the scenes of how stuff really happened.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. Have you seen, I don't know if you have any interest in seeing the new one, which is not very good. But
well, no, then.
It's made by someone who I feel actually it's made by a good director, but I think it's made by people who didn't really get the purpose of RoboCop and kind of neutered it. It's not a horrible remake. It's just kind of bland. But I really love RoboCop. And especially, I love it's one of my favorite themes, like RoboCop's theme. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, and there's one other thing I wanted to mention about the trivia. When this movie came out in theaters, I guess it was, I think, 1987. I guess in Sacramento, California, there was a robbery suspect that was fleeing the scene of a crime, and he ran into a dark movie theater to try to get away from the cops that were chasing him. And this movie was playing. He became so engrossed in the movie that he didn't notice that the cops evacuated everybody else out of the theater. And they flipped the lights on, and he was like totally surprised there's all these cops around him. That's just funny.
It'd be funny if they waited to the end and then like he looks back and just all police officers just sitting down in the seats. Just tries to slowly walk out, like maybe they won't notice.
They forget too. They're like, oh, that's a good movie. But I did find out something interesting too, that apparently there have been plans in place for quite some time now to build a RoboCop statue to be placed in Detroit, similar to the Rocky statue in Philadelphia.
Because you're a great city when your best hero is a fictional character.
Exactly. I think somebody... I'm trying to remember how this started, but I think somebody like sent a message to the mayor or something, and they're like, Philly has a Rocky statue, and RoboCop would beat the crap out of Rocky. We need a RoboCop statue. So there was two sides to this too during the whole thing. Like, a lot of people thought it would be a great landmark for the city. It would bring in a lot of tourists and everything because it's this really memorable character from movies and everything. But there's another group of people that were totally against it because they thought it represented and really drove home the point the movie made about Detroit kind of being a crap hole. So there's a lot of people like against the whole idea of that. But so it's ironic. Actually, on June 3rd of this year, only a couple months ago, they unveiled the RoboCop statue in Detroit, and June 3rd is now the official RoboCop day in the city of Detroit. So they have this huge, probably 12-foot tall bronze statue of RoboCop now that you can see on display in Detroit.
How's it look?
It looks pretty cool, actually. I could send it to you guys. It's funny because the website it's on is philly.com. So pretty sure they're trying to copy off the Rocky statue, but yeah, it looks pretty sweet, actually. It's a really good sculpt and everything on it, so.
Just waiting for the day it gets like vandalized, and it's like, well, that didn't go as expected.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Anything else on RoboCop or anything?
Nah, that's about all I got to do this week, unfortunately.
Yeah, we're just racking up the things that we're going to have to force Greg to watch. So, one of these days. One of these days, Greg. One of these days.
I've already got so many books to read and so many TV shows to watch.
I know.
You're going to have to watch The Mothman again, I'm sorry.
Oh, God, no.
Well, speaking of books, I also, again, read a book. This whole reading thing is catching on. Again, another one I got from Handy Dandy Library. But I picked up a few books, and the first one I read was actually called Prayers for Rain, which is not a book about rain dancing or anything like that. It's written by Dennis Lehane. And for those who don't know who he is, he wrote a lot of books you're probably familiar with because they've been made into a lot of movies. The movie Shutter Island, Mystic River, Gone Baby Gone. Those are all based upon novels that he wrote. And what is kind of funny is I picked this book up from the library, and it's one of those situations where I didn't realize it was part of a series. You know how that kind of goes, where it's like, oh, this is actually these ongoing characters, and this is actually part of the Patrick Kenzie like Private Eye series. This is the fourth novel in it. And the movie Gone Baby Gone is also part of that. It's the same type of characters. But luckily, it didn't really matter. Like, not knowing and not reading the 3 books that came before didn't really affect it all that much. I was able to pretty much stay up with everything that was going on. But the purpose behind this book is it is a private investigator who lives in Boston. He handles small crimes and things like that. He's kind of notorious. He's part of a lot of the more nastier parts of Boston. And there's one day someone comes into his office saying like some guy's harassing her and saying that all these crazy things at the gym and won't leave her alone. So this private investigator, along with one of his pals, goes and basically scares this guy to stop bugging this girl. And, it's done and over with. Good to go. Flash forward to 6 months later. He's about to go on vacation. And before he does, he gets a message from that same girl saying, I need some help. I need you to come assist me. And he's about to leave on vacation. He's like, well, I can't deal with it now. I'll deal with it. Come back. When he comes back, he finds out that same girl, who he thought was really put together, really smart, intelligent, has committed suicide. And because of this, he feels kind of like necessary to investigate this suicide and see. He doesn't feel like it was an actual suicide. He's like, this doesn't make sense. Why would she do this? She had so much going for her. How did she become this suicidal in such a short period of time when she had everything together not too long ago? So she looks into it. He looks into it. And one of those things where the deeper he goes, the darker and darker things become. And as he learns that there's, all this mystery behind what actually happened. But I was deeply enthralled in this novel. I loved it. I loved the setting, a lot of great characters. I'm a big fan of the crime genre, like I mentioned in this podcast a lot. And I just think that what this does well, it is good at kind of taking characters that aren't necessarily, the greatest people in the world, but making them interesting and using their faults to its benefit. So, but also a lot of great reaction. And there's a lot going on within this plot. And it's one of those books where, you always hear the term, I didn't want to put it down. I didn't want to put it down because the way it developed, and it would just go in unexpected directions where I'm like, by the end of the book, I'm like, well, this is not nearly as all what I thought it would be. Though the final twist at the end was a little predictable. I kind of saw that coming, but overall, it's just a really well-written story. The Dennis Lehane is really great at just getting you an idea of the scene and this how his writing really evolves this story in a clever way. So I feel weird critiquing books because I haven't read a great deal, so it's hard for me to is this a really great book? I don't know. I loved it a lot, and I'm going to go back and watch and read the other ones. So it's from Dennis Lehane, Prayers for Rain. You can get it at your local library or your local bookstore because reading is fundamental, as they all say.
I have a question for you, Dan. Do you feel like this guy was actually a good private investigator? Because from what you said, I feel like he was kind of a terrible one, since he's like, yeah, this lady's in trouble. I'm just going to go on vacation.
I think he's a great private investigator. I think he's just not always a great person. He's kind of selfish in some instances, which makes him make decisions that are not, makes him question what he does later. But I think that the motivations behind him, going, okay, I'll deal with it later. I think he just thought it was a situation that wasn't that big of a deal. So it wasn't
so they kind of resolved it in the book to where you were satisfied with why he kind of skipped out and everything.
Yeah, it wasn't like a situation where it's like, wow, this person's calling you for help immediately. It was more like a casual message that it had a little serious tone, and the situation where he was literally on his way to the beach with a lovely, lovely lady. He's like, well,
Amelia Clark?
Maybe. It was Amelia Clark and Emma Watson. I don't know.
All right.
But no, yeah, it was
two girls.
It was a legit reason, or at least it wasn't a choice made out of ignorance or stupidity. It was made out of selfishness, which I think then becomes the redeeming factor throughout the entire novel, because it's him trying to, make up for that tragic mistake, basically. But I don't know. That's all for that. Again, I'm getting in this whole reading thing. Hopefully, eventually, I'll be able to talk more poetically when it comes to trying to critique a book. Right now, I'm just like, it sounded good. I like the characters, and the words were pretty. So, but Greg, I know you watched something. I made sure to text you because I'm like, he'll forget this is on. So let me text him, because I know he wants to see.
I did forget that it was on.
But what show did you just watch recently?
I watched one of our favorite directors' new show. It's by Gizmo del Toro, since I can't freaking say his name, apparently. It was to do with a book that I read not that long ago. I finished up the whole series, and it's they're starting to put The Strain on TV, which has to deal with vampires coming into New York City on this airplane. Well, it's actually just one vampire for now coming in on a airplane into New York City. And the CDC agent F comes in, EFF, I think, or EPH, or it's not just F. It's not the letter F.
Which at first I'm like, that's a weird name, the thing to call someone. But I'm like, oh yeah, it's like F. Yeah.
Yeah, it's I think it's short for Ephraim or whatever. But he goes to investigate this plane because everybody apparently dies on it. So he comes in and investigates, and it's kind of a mystery to them throughout the whole first episode here, which it was a very long episode. It was an hour and 40 minutes, I think.
Yeah, I didn't realize that, and I'm like, because it starts at what, 9, or it starts at 10, I think.
It started at 10 because it ended at like 11:40.
Yeah, and I'm like, okay, it's almost over. It's about to turn 11. I'm like, wait, 40 more minutes?
Yeah. I'm
old. I can't do that. Sorry, I ended up. I'm like, I'll watch the rest tomorrow.
Oh, did you?
Oh yeah, I couldn't watch. I'm like, I'm gonna go to bed now. It's 11 o'clock.
I stayed up and watched it.
Yeah, my wife did too. I went to sleep. So I'm
hardcore. But yeah, I thought it was really good. They hit a lot of the same notes. I like how they showed the old man character is played by the dude who plays the janitor in Harry Potter. And they make him look really, really badass in this thing. I think the only complaint that I really have about it was, actually, there might be 2 complaints. First complaint is I didn't care for the acting of the 2 flight attendants at the beginning of the movie. Or not the movie, it was essentially a movie, but I didn't care for their acting at the beginning. But the rest of the cast did really well. And I didn't care for when the older gentleman, Abraham or something, but he's in jail, and one of the guys in the jail cell kind of turns to him when the old man gets put in there, and it's like, oh, it's nice ink, what is that? And da-da-da-da. And it's his tattoo from the concentration camp in Germany, so they're starting to set up that, but I thought it was kind of clunky how they kind of presented that with the drunk guy and the tattoo. It's like, even if you're drunk, I'm pretty sure everybody knows about those tattoos. You have to be pretty freaking historically ignorant if you don't know that at this point.
Yeah, I kind of had a flashback to like X-Men 3 when it's like, the guy asks Magneto, where's your ink? And he's like, he shows his arm. He's like,
yeah. I felt like that was a little bit more well done than
yeah.
This was.
Oh, I agree.
And I think, and maybe a third problem I just thought of, I didn't care for the giant vampire tongue that comes flying out. I thought it was a lot more clunky than I pictured it, but that's a personal thing, I guess, of how I'm picturing things and how it came out on screen. But I just thought it was like weird and clunky, and how the hell is that coming out of anything's mouth? I thought it was good though, and I really liked how the master kind of looked as he kind of floated away from the tower operator after he kills the tower operator, and he kind of floats away down that hall. It wasn't really floating because he went really fast, but it just, that looked really neat, I thought. And I thought the blood worms, these blood worms that are all white, I thought those were really cool. And the part where Abraham puts some of his blood in, because he's kind of studying this vampire heart that he has cut out, and it's got all the blood worms still in it, and they come out and they come out of all the blood vessels in the heart and the capillaries and the chambers of the heart, and they start eating his blood that he put in this bottle. So that part looked really awesome. So they did some nice things in there, and the story was pretty decent.
So that's what that was. I wasn't sure with the, I'm like, is that, I'm assuming that's a vampire heart, but I wasn't 100% positive.
Yeah, it was a vampire heart, because the vampires all have these blood worms, and that's essentially how the virus is transmitted.
Yeah. I mean, I've read the first book too, and I don't remember it a great deal because it was literally like, 3 years ago or when it first came out. So it's a long time ago.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've read it too.
I did like it overall. It was directed by Guillermo del Toro, the first episode at least. And I know like sometimes his tone for horror can be a little bit, not cheesy per se, but he lays it on thick. I love him as a director, but like he loves like that old school feel. So I could see that turning off a lot of people. Like the look of the character, like you said. I thought the concept of that character was cool. I thought some of the special effects were questionable at times. When he's like taking, spoiler alert, when he takes a person out, I thought that looked pretty awesome. But I thought some of the movement was a little, maybe because the budget's not that huge. It wasn't like all that great. And the only other big issue I had was I didn't like how I thought in the book, again, I don't remember if this is correct, but when the plane lands, you don't really have any idea of what's going on. And there's kind of an allusion to what happened in the show in the beginning. It kind of shows you a good idea of what happened. And I think that kind of ruins the tension a little bit. I think you build more mystery when you just have this plane and you really know nothing.
Yeah.
Unlike like with the show, and it kind of showed you.
He came up out of the cargo hold.
Yeah, which I think it kind of ruins the illusion in a little bit. It's like, oh, okay, if you had the plane just land and it's just dead in the water and you don't have any idea. I thought that was really effective. It was like one of my favorite parts of what got me engrossed to start with. So I wasn't a big fan of how that went down. But I do agree overall the characters are pretty cool. Abraham does seem like he's going to be a great character. It didn't get into a lot of the other characters that come up later, but it's really setting the stage. And what I liked about it too, it really took its time. A lot of people get to probably find it boring because it puddled along. It was kind of just letting the things build. It wasn't really in a hurry, which I liked. I thought it was very in tune with the book. So looking forward to more, because that story gets really crazy and insane near the end. So I'm really curious how that's all going to work out. So.
Yeah, I'm hoping people hold on for a little bit because it's starting off pretty average at this point. So I'm hoping it kind of gets a little bit more of an uptick. Probably going to be a little bit speedier through, because I'm assuming they're not going to have them all be this long as this one was.
See, I don't know, because I don't know if it's considered a miniseries or what, but I mean, I wouldn't, as of right now, if I not that long ago, I ranked my 10 favorite shows of the year. I wouldn't be there, but it's a nice summer show. It's a good watch. I do feel like all the good shows are on Sunday nights though, because it's True Blood isn't that great of a show, but we watched that. I started watching the show Leftovers, which is pretty good. We have this Falling Skies, which I need to catch up with. I'm like a 2 behind on that show, but that's on Sunday nights. It's like all great television. It's always reserved for Sunday nights.
Can I ask you something else, Dan?
Go right ahead.
There's essentially pretty much two vampire shows, I guess, on TV right now. Is Vampire Diaries still on?
Yeah.
Oh, is it? Well, I don't know. I assume you haven't watched that, but
not only secondhand. Like,
okay.
My wife watches that show.
Okay,
which is not as horrible. Don't let her know I said this.
She still listens to the podcast, right, Dan?
On occasion. She still does, but I'll tell her not to listen to this episode.
This one's really boring.
It's not as bad as you would think of a show called Vampire Diaries, but I personally would never seek it out. But compared to other shows, it has its moments, and some of the actors are pretty good. So,
well, I was going to ask you, even though it's just one episode, so it's going to be hard to judge, but do you like True Blood better, or do you like this take better on vampires?
Oh, wow. Well, right now, the take on vampires, I like this take on vampires better. I mean, it's knowing the book, because I like vampires treated as monsters, and I think in, True Blood and Twilight, True Blood's better than Twilight, but they're treated like, there's like no downfall. It's no downfall to being a vampire. It's like, you're basically just a superhuman that just sleeps during the day. So I like it when vampires are more like monsters, and they're not, it's not a
sexy. More scary than sexy.
Yeah, more scary than sexy. I mean, not that there's some sexy lady vampires in True Blood that I'm not against, but I prefer,
Carol should definitely not listen to this episode.
As of right now, if you say watch True Blood or watch The Strain, I would rather watch The Strain, mostly because the True Blood has been so awful for so many seasons now. But True Blood was really good at its peak. Like, True Blood had its moments. I think its first 4 seasons were good, but I don't know. It's a really long-winded answer, but I would say I prefer the take of the Strain vampires because it's more the way I like to perceive vampires. Give me Nosferatu over Robert Pattinson any day of the week. So.
Yes.
Take anything over Robert Pattinson.
Who, though, to be fair, he's getting a lot of acclaim for this movie called The Rover, which I haven't seen yet, but he's getting a lot of good acclaim for that movie. So
Red Rover, send Robert Pattinson over.
Let's never mention Twilight in the same breath as Nosferatu.
Well, in the sense that
I know you're saying, but I'm just joking.
You could say it like Nosferatu totally ripped Robert Pattinson's head off.
There you go.
That works, right?
That movie was pretty badass. That's a classic creepy movie.
Yeah, that movie is disturbing in a lot of great ways. So
yeah.
But yeah, that's pretty much it. You got anything else before we take a break, Greg?
I've got nothing.
One quick thing I wanted to bring up. Did you guys see the Marvel news from recently that they're going to, in the comics at least, they're going to make Thor a girl?
I have seen that.
I did.
I have seen the replacement for Captain America as well.
Yes. It was pretty funny because, for the Thor thing, people were freaking out because they thought it was for the movies. And they're like, why would they replace Chris Hemsworth with a girl? That makes no sense. That's so stupid. And they started making me question that it was about the movies because everyone was talking about it, and they're like, oh, Chris Hemsworth's already been in a bunch of movies. It's time for him to hang it up. And I'm like, what the hell are they talking about? But I did confirm it's just in the comics. And yeah, with the Captain America thing too. They said Stephen Colbert was disappointed he wasn't the next Captain America.
This is the second time he's been disappointed.
Yeah. But the
Cap's been dying a lot lately.
Yeah. I guess that whole, 70 years old thing is catching up to him.
Yeah.
But it was funny, they did make Stephen Colbert a superhero. I guess they commissioned one of the artists at Marvel to draw him as the new Falcon. And they have the picture online somewhere with Stephen Colbert in the Falcon uniform, soaring through the air.
Yeah, I did see that.
Pretty funny.
Yeah. So what do you guys think of the whole changing of the guard and with those characters?
I never liked that stuff. I mean, to me, it always just seems like a gimmick, and I don't care for them that much. I mean, I know there's a lot of things you can do with it, and if done the right way, it could be interesting, but especially the Thor thing, I have a problem with that. And I love reading the comments on stories like this too. And I think I was reading a lot of the female comics fans were actually upset that they were making Thor a girl because they said it was demeaning that you're catering to the women, kind of basically making the character into a woman to kind of make them feel better or stuff like that. I know that's not really entirely what they're doing, but a lot of people were taking it that way, and even the girls were pretty upset about it. And you're changing a classic character. It's fine if you created a new one, but don't change the existing one. And so it was pretty cool to read all those comments.
Yeah, I guess my issue with that though is I feel like people when they create a new character, they say the same thing. It's why are you creating a new character? Why not try to? I just don't think you can appease people. I really don't care. I'd go ahead and do it. It's the comics. It'll change in 2 years and go back to the status quo anyways. It's why do people make a big deal about it?
They had Loki not that long ago. He was a woman for a month or two, and they changed him right back after a little while.
Yeah. And then he was a kid for a while. And I think you can make a good story out of it. With Miles Morales in the Ultimate line when he became Spider-Man. people complain about it, but once it got going, it's like, well, this is actually really great, and it's not necessarily it's great not because of his race or his gender. It's great because it's a great story, and it's just something different. And I understand like why it's catering, but I also like it is a big stunt. There's no doubt about it. I mean, you're not going to announce a character on The View. Literally, that's where they announced it, on The View, and it's not being a stunt. But Marvel is a business, and the thing is, like, you can't always survive just on comic book readers. I think they realize they have to kind of reach out to people. But I don't even, like, I think it can make sense because it's not like Thor, the actual Thor character, is changing into a woman. It's just that he's losing, like, he's not going to be quote-unquote deemed worthy, and someone else is going to take up, and it's going to be a woman. I don't know who it's going to be, but I don't know. Is it a gimmick? Yeah, but doesn't mean gimmicks can be good. But and the thing about it, the whole Thor character is a gimmick. You're taking a god from Norse culture and making him into a 1960s superhero. You've already changed the character drastically from its original origin. So why are you getting upset now? Like, I don't understand. Like, this isn't original Marvel property. This is something that they took and made it into their own image, and now it's something different. So it's like,
true. It's different though when it's a character that's important to you or beloved to you or something like that. And I know people were complaining too because they were saying, what are they gonna call her? Like, is she gonna be called Thor? Because in the Scandinavian countries, Thor is a male name, and it can't even be passed as a female name. So they're bringing that up, which isn't a huge deal. But
there's also been in the Avengers Academy or whatever that was during the time of Osborn's reign, they had a character there that was called Lady Thor. She didn't have a hammer, she didn't have Mjolnir, but it was essentially a Lady Thor character. So I also don't understand it from that perspective of, like, why can't they just have her and then just have Thor? Like, why can't they just bring that character back?
Yeah. I honestly don't care what they do because I don't read the new comics anymore, so it doesn't really concern me.
And the whole Falcon thing, I think, kind of makes sense. If you're going to get rid of Steve Rogers for whatever reason and replace him with someone, I think it makes sense that it would be Falcon, since they've been partners for such a long time. And it's not the first time Captain America wasn't Steve Rogers. It was Bucky for a long time. It's been a few people, and I don't know. And again, that's the example of them not creating a new character. It's using the existing one and just giving them different spin on that.
Yeah, that one absolutely makes sense. I love that one. Sam Wilson's been with him since 1969, I believe, and often credited as the first black superhero, at least in Marvel.
But yeah, I mean, it is a stunt. Joe Quesada does do these things where I think he's big on getting headlines. He's not big on getting great stories all the time. So I don't know, but sometimes it could work out. Like, it might be awful, and if it is, it'll get canceled, and regular Thor will come back. I don't know. I haven't really read any of the new Marvel Now stuff because I think it's supposed to be called Avengers Now. With they announced the entire team, and which includes like Iron Man, which is Tony Stark and just new armor, Winter Soldier, some other characters that I don't even know who they are, but Scarlet Witch I think is on there. Who I'm like, so they're gonna keep her around? Didn't she like kind of kill the mutants there for a while? You'd rather Marvel get headlines by saying, hey, this story was amazing, and not, hey, look, we're gonna do what we always do, because they've done that a lot. Because there's like Lady Bullseye, there was like Lady, I don't know, just like, let's take this character and make him a woman. Like,
yeah, Dr. Octopus was a woman at one point even.
Yeah,
I mean, they're gonna do what they're gonna do, and there's gonna be people that like it and people that don't like it, and I mean, the people that don't like it aren't gonna read it, that's all. And they're still gonna do what they do and move forward, and like you said, Dan, they're gonna revert back to the previous form eventually anyway, so
Yeah, it's like when a character gets killed, it's like, oh, I can't believe they killed that character. It's like, really? It's just gonna...
It's like, wait 2 years and then, buy another one.
I mean, I was pretty pissed when they killed Captain America and like after Civil War. Yeah. But I loved how it was handled, and then I got actually pissed when they brought him back.
That's when they got you.
Yeah.
when you're conflicted in yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, If they do it like that, masterfully done. It's when they do it just to do it and it turns out like crap. That's when it's like really annoying.
In this, I mean, it does feel like that. It does feel like it's, especially the way that they're doing it with this press campaign. Like, hey, let's go on The View and talk about this superhero character as if that's going to get new readers. Like, I don't think.
Yeah.
And I understand. I can completely understand the women comic book readers saying, hey, we don't have to, just because someone's a girl doesn't mean we're going to read the comic now. I mean, that is very demonizing or whatever you want to say.
And saying like, why do they need the powers and the persona that has been tied to a male for so long to make them seem good?
Yeah.
Why can't we have our own character that's thrust into the spotlight like that? And
I mean,
I kind of see where that could be an issue a little bit.
I mean, you have Lady Sith. Why not just like make her the leader of the the Asgards? I think that's
that would be pretty cool. Yeah.
But that's not a headline you can get. So
exactly.
So it's like the New York Jets, right? They make signings that make no sense, but give them headlines, and their team sucks. So I think Marvel has that. maybe it's secretly run by Rex Ryan, and we just don't know.
Well, if you start seeing a lot of panels in Marvel Comics of people's feet, then Rex Ryan with his foot fetish has taken over. So.
Oh man, good point. All right, but we'll get actually into more comic book characters in a sec because we'll be getting into some classic showdowns after this. So we'll see you in a bit.
By the power of Grayskull, I command the Jawbridge. Open!
Yes, that's right. We have traveled to Eternia to enter Castle Grayskull. Join Optimus Solo and TFJ and Mike as they find themselves telling tales of Eternia. We cover all things He-Man in this 45-episode-long podcast. You can find us on iTunes and www.geekcastradio.com. By the power of Grayskull, we all have the power.
Every week on the In Session Film Podcast, you can expect to hear reviews on all of the latest movies, big films, small films, and everything in between. We'll also do top 3 segments relating back to our main review. We discuss all of the latest movie news and rumblings, as well as have movie series and other fun segments. And we always talk about the films that we're watching and why you should watch them or not watch them as well. If you want to learn more about the In Session Film Podcast, check us out online at InSessionFilm.com. You can hear our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, TuneIn Radio, and so much more. In fact, you can listen to everything we have straight from our website. Again, that is InSessionFilm.com. Download our podcast, check us out, and come join us every week. We'd love to hear from you.
All right, and welcome back. Way back when, I think in our first 15 episodes, we did this thing called the March Badass Bracket, where we pitted people against their badassness, and in that, it was not who would win in a fight. Well, today, we are checking out to see who would win in a make-believe battle. Like I mentioned on the top of the show, if anyone's ever been on a comic book message board, chances are you've had these debates. Chances are you've got angry and threw things and yelled and screamed when you thought that, no, Yoda could in fact beat Professor X in a game of chess. So I've seen some craziness going on. So today we're going to be having some of our old classic like battle royales where we're picking up some of those fun fights and seeing who would win. It's all good fun. So the question is, where do we begin? So we'll throw out some of these different matchups. We'll just debate, see who we think would win. Maybe we'll agree, maybe we won't. Luckily, there's an odd number of us, so we can pick the winner just based upon votes. But this isn't a tournament or anything. This is just kind of crazy battles. And if you agree or disagree with us, feel free to let us know in the comment section, and we'll get, at the end of the show, get to all the different ways you can get in contact with us. So I'll throw out the first battle. And it's hard. It's like, is there a main event here? I'm not sure, but I think I'll start with one I think is a good undercard battle. Maybe not necessarily two of the biggest names ever, but I think two pretty solid characters that I think we all have somewhat of an understanding of. And we've talked about this character at length during the superhero draft episode, and that is Doctor Strange.
Ooh.
I think he's always a fun one to bring into these battles because of his power set. Going up against, I'm going to cross boundaries here and get into DC and getting with a kind of a cosmic character of DC, and that is Green Lantern. And I guess I'll go good old Hal Jordan Green Lantern. I know there's a trillion Green Lanterns, but just traditional good old Hal Jordan Green Lantern against the Sorcerer Supreme, Doctor Strange. Greg, I know way back when Doctor Strange was the first pick in your superhero draft. Who do you think would win in a fight, Doctor Strange or Green Lantern?
Oh, I guess I'd go with Doctor Strange, because if any of you have watched the what was the name of that movie, Justice League War or whatever, it was out not too long ago. We didn't care for it for their portrayal of Darkseid. It's the new 52 take on the character, and we didn't care for Superman that much. But Green Lantern was also in that movie, and he essentially got his butt kicked. Well, could have got his butt kicked if he wanted to by Batman in 2 seconds, and Batman has no powers whatsoever, just swiped the ring off of Hal Jordan. And I think Doctor Strange has enough tools in his workbench that he could easily take that ring away from Hal Jordan. I think he could take Hal to different places, and there's much more imagination that could be used in Doctor Strange's art than in Hal Jordan's power ring. So I'm going to give it to Doctor Strange. You guys are going to say something, and I'm going to be like, well, he could have done that later, but I can have a little counterpoint at the end or something.
All right, feel free. Chuck, where would you go in this battle of Strange versus Green Love? I don't know. That was weird, but anyways.
This is a tough one. These are, I guess, two characters I never pictured being pit against each other, but I think, honestly, I'd have to go Green Lantern here in a close one. I think, since you said Hal Jordan, I think that's the reason I would pick. If it were any other Green Lantern, if you're looking at, Kyle Rayner or John Stewart, Guy Gardner, some of those, I would definitely say Doctor Strange. But the Green Lantern's power, of course, is his ring, which is controlled by your willpower. The Green Lantern's is willpower. They believe that's the strongest, emotion or whatever. And Hal Jordan has faced some major enemies over his time, and he's overcome some great odds. He has incredible willpower. I think Doctor Strange would definitely have some interesting spells, but I think Hal Jordan, who once took on the entire Green Lantern Corps by himself, I think his willpower would just be enough to kind of overcome any spells or hexes that Doctor Strange could put on him.
Now, you think the fact that I came up with this, I would have figured out who would I want to win beforehand, but I really didn't. I will admit I'm not as well versed in Green Lantern stuff as you, Chuck, but I'm going with Doctor Strange in this, and the reason being, I think you make a good point, Greg, regarding Doctor Strange's powers. I think his variety is a key here, and he can kind of conjure up such a large amount of different spells and different aspects of his power that I think it's really going to maybe bring Green Lantern off his game a little bit. Plus, Doctor Strange does go against some pretty intense foes himself, some little demons and gods he goes toe-to-toe with. He's traveled around the galaxy, even though he is a mortal man. I think the one thing that's would hurt him is the fact that, his spells do take time, and Green Lantern is rather quick, but I just think that he would be able to I think he'd be able to figure out Green Lantern, and before that Green Lantern could figure out Doctor Strange, if that makes any sense. But
I will point out that, if I remember correctly, I don't think Doctor Strange was powerful enough to stop the Scarlet Witch in the House of M.
That is true. But would Green Lantern be powerful enough to stop Scarlet Witch?
Right.
I don't know. Scarlet Witch is kind of crazy. I feel like she's the trump card. She's she can change reality, and then that's it.
or she could just get backhanded and be knocked out. It's a wide range for that character for some reason.
But. Yeah, like I said, I'll admit I could be choosing Strange just because I know more about him, but my vote goes for Strange. What Doctor Strange could do is conjure up some certain spell where he shows Hal Jordan the movie Green Lantern, and that destroys his willpower, and then he wins. So
he would just get depressed because he would trick him into thinking he was Ryan Reynolds in that movie. Definitely close. I'll give you that. It's definitely a close battle. I don't think it's a easy win for GL by any means. And if I heard some good battles that Doctor Strange won, I might be persuaded. But for now, my vote goes with GL.
Fair enough. Greg, how about yourself? Do you have any battles for us to consider?
Yeah, I do. I think it would be really interesting to see Nightcrawler, the blue elf from X-Men lore, who teleports from place to place in a big poof of sulfur-smelling smoke, versus a man from the DC universe who's pretty much one of the fastest characters around, the Flash.
Oof.
Nice.
So whoever would like to take that one, go ahead.
I guess I'll go first here since I finished last time. Wow, that is tough. Oof. Man, teleportation versus instant speed. That is crazy. I guess I would go Flash. The reason being, Nightcrawler can teleport, but I wonder if he would be quick enough to, even with teleportation, if he would be quick enough for the Flash. I mean, the Flash literally is lightning speed. You know, for him, maybe the teleportation would be slowing, wouldn't be as quick of an effect as it is for normal people. So maybe it wouldn't be as effective against a guy who can kind of get from one place to another, or he could kind of anticipate it a little bit better. So I just think that he's too fast. If it was someone like Quicksilver, who's not as fast as the Flash, I'd probably say I would go Nightcrawler, but just because of the Flash is in godlike speed, I'd have to go with him. I mean, like, he's fast enough to kind of go through matter and, you know, whatnot. Like, he can literally change his body so, like, Nightcrawler couldn't touch him. So that would be my guess. But I do think Nightcrawler's a better character, so if that counts or anything. But my vote goes for the Flash.
Nice. I think I'm going to have to agree with you, Dan. I think, as far as I can remember, I think Nightcrawler can only teleport to a place he can see or a place he's already been that's within a certain range. And I just think if Flash is using his entire speed, I don't think Nightcrawler can anticipate where he's going to be fast enough. And especially the other point would be like Flash, his brain, he can think at speeds faster than a normal human too. So not only do you have his physical movements at, you know, light speed or whatever, you have his thoughts that are even faster too. And I just think it would be too much for the elf to keep up with.
Very nice.
See my whole thing with the battle. I'm also going with the Flash. So I guess I didn't really pick out a great battle, but
I think that'd be an awesome battle to watch.
Yeah, I would.
Unlike you guys, I'm not going with the Flash because of his speed. I'm going with the fault with Nightcrawler of his teleportation kind of takes a lot out of him. And I think the Flash has a greater endurance than Nightcrawler would. So I think Nightcrawler would be trying to keep away from the Flash the whole time, because the Flash does have a little bit more offensive in regards to this battle. I think the Nightcrawler would have to go on the defensive and try and keep away as best he could, kind of just keep popping up in the air, keep away from them. But he's only going to last so long up there. He has had issues with endurance. In one of the comics that I've read, it was kind of a newer one because they also had Pixie in there, and she also has some abilities where she could kind of teleport, where she doesn't have some of those issues, and she teleported way farther than Nightcrawler did, and like the long distance wore him out, and she could teleport longer distance and withstand better. So I'm going to go with the Flash because of Nightcrawler's horrible endurance qualities.
He can't last long, is what you're saying.
No.
There's actually, I don't know if you ever saw the episode of Wolverine and the X-Men, but there's this episode where he has to get from Genosha, I think, to like a main island, and it's him just going over the ocean to escape, and he has to kind of, teleport as far as he can. I thought it was an incredible scene, one of the favorite scenes from that entire cartoon, and it has a really tragic kind of ending at the end. Just to give some points to Nightcrawler, I mean, he is a dude who has an incredible heart. Like, if you can just YouTube that clip, it's awesome moment of that cartoon. So, I don't know why I thought of that, but it just came to my mind.
That is very cool.
All right, Chuck, how about you? What do you got for us?
Nothing.
All right.
No, okay. Well, I'm going to stick with the adage of go big or go home. So I'm going big right out of the gate. And I'm going to propose Apocalypse versus Doctor Doom.
Wow. Jeez.
Whoever wants to go. I don't know.
I guess I'll start because I am Apocalypse is one of my favorite villains, though I realize he's got issues as a character. I think I'd go Doctor Doom. It's tough, but I think Apocalypse underestimates people far too much. Like he can be. I think that's his biggest downfall. I think he doesn't see anyone as equal, even someone like Doctor Doom. I think he has probably more power per se with his Sentry armor, or it's not Sentry armor, but his what are those people called? Those Centurions or whatever. Celestials, yeah, with his
the Lollipop Guild.
Yes, with his celestial armor and his mutant ability, which I feel like his mutant powers change every day.
Yeah.
They're never consistent.
Every time he wakes up, he's got like different powers.
But I think Doom's just more cunning. I think he's harder to trick than someone like Apocalypse. And I think Apocalypse has been shown he has a lot of more weaknesses than that of Doom that have been taken advantage of in a lot of different ways. I mean, I think Doom would probably figure out the fact that, Apocalypse does have to rest for a great deal of time to keep up with his strength. And he would maybe go to a time in which he's, doing his resting and take him out then, or outlast him. There've been times when Apocalypse has been basically annihilated per se. So I go Doom just because when Doom loses, I feel it's not nearly as devastating as when Apocalypse loses. I don't know if that makes sense, but
oh yeah, it makes sense.
I don't know, Greg. I mean, you may completely disagree. I'm curious.
I'm gonna go with Apocalypse because not ever once have I really seen a story where they kind of let Doctor Doom win as greatly as they have let Apocalypse win in Age of Apocalypse, where the world is pretty much right under his thumb and he's squishing down. And he's apparently taken out Doctor Doom in that. I forget exactly what happens with Doctor Doom in that storyline, but just from seeing that, I think Apocalypse would have it. But then Doctor Doom has so much. I may convince myself otherwise.
The more you talk, the more you convince yourself.
Yeah, exactly. And well, I'm kind of just thinking out loud here. And Apocalypse, he's only got. What is his power? That's my thing that I always have problems with him. What is his power?
Energy projection, shape-shifting, incredible strength. I know at times he's had flight, I think.
Like I said, I feel his powers are so never really stated. I feel like they change per story.
So. Yeah, so that just adds weirdness into the whole question of who would win on this fight.
See, I know Cable has taken out Apocalypse, like one-on-one. I don't think Cable could take out Doctor Doom, so...
All right, I'll go Doctor Doom. Convinced me. I was convincing myself anyway towards the end there. I'm like, he's Doctor Doom has magic, and he's probably smarter than Apocalypse.
I mean, Apocalypse does have centuries upon centuries of knowledge. He does, and now I'm going to convince myself the other way. Go Apocalypse.
Well, Apocalypse is 5,000 years old, so he's survived a lot of things. I guess a lot of it depends. I probably should have kind of picked this when I proposed the battle, but a lot of it depends on if there's any prep time, or do they just kind of stumble upon one another.
Doom and Apocalypse are walking through the woods.
Doom's just kind of walking along, thinking, kicking acorns, and Apocalypse jumps out from behind a tree.
Well, Dr. Doom did get beat by Squirrel Girl.
That's true. Well, who can't get beat by Squirrel Girl? So
I'm gonna go Dr. Doom as well. Are you changing your stand?
I'm still sticking Doom, but I'm curious, Chuck. It sounds like you're going Apocalypse.
I think I am gonna go Apocalypse.
You like Dr. Doom too, so that's kind of weird.
I do, but I'm so torn because I love both of these characters, and I'm kind of pissed at myself right now for picking these two. I don't know. They're both so ruthless and like so cold. Like, I know Apocalypse gets weakened and he has to rest and stuff, but that's after a long ass time.
That's true.
And he, and then he does recuperate for a couple centuries or whatever it is, and then he comes out like really freaking strong. I will say one battle I could throw out there. I guess it might not have any merit or anything, but Apocalypse did kill Dracula in a fight.
Oh, I read that. That was really good.
That was a four issue miniseries, which was really, really cool idea when Marvel did that. But like I said, I think if they just kind of met randomly, I think Apocalypse would take it. If it's more of a something with prep time, like Dan mentioned, Apocalypse does have a tendency to take people for granted, and Doom is like the Marvel's equivalent of Batman when it comes to preparation. And so I guess, I don't know, I'm kind of contradicting myself here, but
we all have been. This is why I know a comic book author wants to do the story where there's an actual winner.
Yeah, and maybe that's Brian Michael Bendis' problem. He just gets into the story and he doesn't know which way he wants to go. But I like to think of it more as a little bit more of a spur of the moment fight, and I like Apocalypse's power set, and I think he's just had so much more experience over 5,000 years. I think he would find a way to defeat Doom, whether it's with his celestial technology and the way that it's enhanced his powers and stuff like that, or whatever it may be. But I like to give it Apocalypse for this round.
Very nice, very nice. So we've gone Marvel and DC. I'm going to kind of go a little bit different here, sticking with DC, but I don't know about you, but one of my favorite weapons is like a stick. Like people, that's one of my favorite turtle was like Donatello. I just think
I do like that too.
I just think you have to be a little bit more cunning when you have just a stick as your weapon. So
don't we all just have a stick as a weapon?
And right into that.
I saw it coming out, which is not a good thing to say after that.
Did you see it coming out, Dan?
Anyways. Wow. Okay. So I'm taking two people who
have sticks.
Have sticks as a weapon. One from Star Wars universe, one from the Marvel universe. So the one from Star Wars, of course, is the infamous Darth Maul.
Yes.
And the one from the Marvel universe, he has a lot. The stick. No, he has a lot of weapons, but he does use a stick, and that of course is Gambit.
Ooh, nice.
So, again, not necessarily a traditional matchup, but I thought like their powers interesting counterbalance. So Gambit, Darth Maul.
Can I go first?
Go right ahead.
Here's how I see it playing out. Gambit goes, "Hey, mon ami, nice hairstyle," and tosses a card at him. And then Darth Maul, the card is charged, of course, and throws it at him. And Darth Maul just kind of flicks it back with his Jedi mind and throws it back, telekinetic force, and throws it back into his face. And that explodes Gambit. Darth Maul wins.
Well, make a good point there. Chuck, do you say differently? You go in Darth Maul as well, or making a case for Gambit?
Oof, I don't know. I mean, Gambit can be a pretty ferocious fighter when he wants to be. He does have a tendency to get too cocky as well and kind of not pay attention and get taken out. So
do exactly what I said.
Yeah, being a little overconfident and everything. Oof, that's a good matchup. I love both of these characters too, so it's tough. But I think just to avoid rambling, I think I'm gonna go with Darth Maul as well. I think the Gambit's power is dangerous, of course, when he has something charged. I know he can even charge his staff and strike objects and transfer the power to them and stuff, but I think that double-edged lightsaber is just badass, and
it's gonna cut right through his bow staff.
Yeah, I think, with Darth Maul's speed and everything and agility, I know Gambit's naturally agile and everything. I'm leaning towards Darth Maul there with the Force and with the double-edged lightsaber being more dangerous.
Chuck, didn't you tell me once that once upon a time Gambit had the ability, his powers were much stronger at one point?
Yeah, I think Mr. Sinister did some work on him and kind of boosted him to a much higher level. He actually, I think he had the ability to just explode people by looking at them. He didn't even have to touch anything. And then I think he could also have a force field around him, because there was some stuff there where him and Rogue were actually going to have a real relationship, because his force field was so strong that touching her wouldn't even affect him at all. So yeah, he has been, adjusted now and then.
He's been adjusted.
He's been to the
Adjustment Bureau.
He's been to the superpower chiropractor a few times.
Yeah. I'm going to try to make a case for Gambit, but I think at the end of the day, Darth Maul's powers are pretty expansive compared to Gambit's. I mean, the telekinesis thing is a good point, but Gambit has fought people with telekinesis before. I think there are ways to get around it. Maybe not to the length of that of the Force. I do think maybe if his staff was like adamantium or whatever, maybe the lightsaber couldn't cut through it, he would have a better shot at it. But yeah. I just think that Darth Maul is too much fierce of a warrior and too intense for that of Gambit to kind of hold his own against him. But sorry to interrupt you, Dan. I will say I think Gambit has a certain level of protection against psychics, because I know it's been difficult for Xavier to read Gambit's mind. It's part of his mutant power, and I don't think any Jedi mind tricks would work on him that well. But I think with the other assets that Darth Maul has, it would be more than enough. Yeah. I mean, it's hard to be a double-edged lightsaber, and it's
very true.
Very true. Though, I mean, young Obi-Wan Kenobi did kill him, so maybe he's not invincible. I don't know. So basically what I'm saying is Obi-Wan Kenobi is our only hope in this situation.
He was the only hope. Gambit's not the only hope.
No.
You got 12 other X-Men, so.
So Greg, do you have any other matchups for us?
Yes, I do. Me being me, I had to have a superhero cat fight. I just had to. And I think one of the most awesome, sexiest cat fights out there would be Marvel's Green Giantess, the Jade She-Hulk, up against DC's Lady Bruiser, Wonder Woman.
Ooh.
Nice.
Chuck, you want to go first?
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like an intriguing matchup, but I think there's never really doubt in my mind. I got to give it to Wonder Woman. I think her strength would actually equal or surpass She-Hulk's. And I know I've read some comics where Batman has admitted that Diana is the best hand-to-hand combatant on the planet. And that's, when Batman says that about someone, that's pretty high praise. But I'd have to go with Wonder Woman just by brute force, and plus she can fly, and the speed and strategery that goes along with that. So I think she could use that to her advantage, and her hand-to-hand skills and her strength. I think I'd go with Wonder Woman on that one.
I feel like has Wonder Woman's strength kind of varied? I feel like sometimes she's as strong as Superman, sometimes she's just normal strength.
Well, in the early comics, when they wanted to show her in bondage, they apparently she didn't have much strength then. That's all what the artist is trying to do, I guess. I don't know.
Okay. I mean, I guess based on the cartoon, she's pretty equal to that of. So I mean, I guess they would be equal. I don't know. I mean, She-Hulk is, she has her things going for her, but I think she's more brute force. she's not necessarily the trained warrior of Wonder Woman, and if they have equal strength, going against the trained warrior against someone who uses strength first, though. I mean, She-Hulk could also call him the Hulk, and but then Wonder Woman would call him Superman, and then
Marvel versus Capcom, where you call in your third character for for half a second,
and then eventually you get to Galactus, and then it's like, all right. But yeah, I think we're going Wonder Woman. I think the training, just her combat skills, like Chuck mentioned, but I want to say She-Hulk, but I guess I have no reason to. So
I will throw in a tidbit that She-Hulk did once defeat the champion of the universe. If anybody knows who that is.
Hulk Hogan?
No, this is not in his own mind, it's in everyone's mind. But everyone agrees is the champion of the universe.
Yeah.
The big blue guy with the red hair.
It's the guy who came to Earth to fight and fought like the Thing, right? And
yeah, he has spent 20 million years perfecting his fighting skills and was undefeated in battle, and She-Hulk was the first ever person to defeat him in battle. So she does have that going for her. So I guess there's always that puncher's chance or whatever.
Yeah, I guess in a fight between Wonder Woman and She-Hulk, the person who wins is Greg. So Greg, who would you choose in this?
Unlike you guys, I think She-Hulk is definitely the stronger of the two combatants. And She-Hulk has a lot more intelligence than I think you guys are giving her credit for. Yes, she's not trained in battle strategies and stuff like that, but I think she does have the intelligence to at least keep it even with her powers. I think where the problem lies for She-Hulk is when Diana brings out the toys of her lasso and kind of isn't the lasso unbreakable?
Yeah,
the lasso of truth. So I think once Wonder Woman breaks that out, I think She-Hulky will be all done.
It's all
even though
until they break out the toys.
Yeah.
What's the safety word?
Smash.
That is the safety word. But yes, I'm definitely the winner after that battle. So
someplace, somewhere, some lonely comic book artist is drawing this battle as we speak.
I think that's been drawn already a couple of times.
I'm sure it has.
Was it Rule 36 or something? Rule 36, 34? And neither of you know. Look it up.
I know Order
later.
66.
No. Look up either Rule 34 or 36. I forget exactly.
Wait a minute. Is this something I want to look up, or
there will be a definition on the first page. I'm pretty sure. So if you look that up on the internet, don't click on any of the links, but just look at the description underneath. I think it gives you the description.
That's very nice. All right, Chuck, what's your next matchup?
Oh, crap.
Crap versus what?
Mr. Hanky.
Crap versus P.
The Christmas Pooh, he loves me and I love you.
Well, I had one going with a character that you picked previously, Dan, so I'm not sure if I want to bring a character up a second time, although it is an intriguing matchup.
I think it's fine.
Okay. Let's give it a shot. So the first character would be Green Lantern, and that is Hal Jordan, Green Lantern. And I would pit him against his Marvel counterpart, Nova Prime, Richard Rider himself.
Interesting.
What do you guys think of that?
Richard Rider, it is serious that you pay attention at this time. Sorry, go ahead, Dan.
Well, are we going with Nova, like when he was after Annihilation, where he was like, had all the Prime Force or what have you?
Oh, that was a good one on that.
Yeah, Nova Prime, not just the regular Nova, but the Nova Prime.
That was I love that series. That was
good.
Let's talk about that series some more. Wow, that's tough. Because if it was regular Nova, it wouldn't really be a contest, I don't think. Because Green Lantern, I feel like, I just said that Doctor Strange could beat Green Lantern, so then this comes up. Man, tough one. I feel like I'm not as well versed in Green Lantern to be fair, so I'm really just going off of what I have read in mostly the cartoons and whatnot.
That awful movie.
That awful movie. Though I think in this one I would go. I think their powers are pretty equal, but when I said Doctor Strange had more could be more versatile with his powers, I think Nova's powers are pretty much straightforward. There's not much there. I think with the ring,
there's a fucking lot of it for Nova.
Yeah, there is. I just wonder if Green Lantern would be able to keep him at a distance. But I guess with Nova Prime, though, he has all the Prime Force, so it's like making all the Green Lanterns into one. So is it really, would he just be able to overpower it? I don't know. This one's tough. This one's really difficult. But I'm going to go, I'll say Green Lantern, but I'm sure you guys might be able to convince me otherwise. Just because I think he could maybe go with more ranged attacks, kind of keep his distance, and try to just stay away from him as much as possible, just like hit and run type of tactic, which could maybe work for him. I don't know. Just a thought.
Yeah, Greg, what do you think?
I'm gonna go with Nova. I think Nova is just too powerful and too fast with that Nova Force, and he's got a lot more intelligence than the Green Lantern because he's got the Nova. What was it called? Nova.
The world mind.
World mind in his head, feeding him information, and he has a lot of willpower as well. And like I said for the first matchup, all you really have to do is get the ring off him like Batman did, and you're all good. So yeah. I'm gonna go with Nova.
Okay, I think I'm gonna second that. I think I'm gonna go with Nova Prime as well. Like you said, Greg, I'm kind of gonna second your take on the power level. I know, like everyone says in DC, the most powerful weapon is the Green Lantern ring. But you look at, you're talking about Nova Prime. He has all the power of the Nova core, and when you have like a super smart computer inside your helmet, basically, feeding you tactics and pointing out things that maybe you wouldn't have thought of. Because I remember reading that Nova series, and there were times where like he wasn't quite sure what to do, but the world mind would kind of point things out to him, and he'd be like, "Oh yeah," and so he'd kind of learn from that and stuff. But he's super fast, like he's able to fly. I think maybe he might be the one that would be more effective at hit and run tactics with the speed that he would possess.
Plus, he can open up wormholes.
Oh yeah,
that's right. He can. And I would almost put him on the win. I would almost put him on the level of some of the Galactus Heralds. Maybe not quite like a Silver Surfer, but maybe some of the other Heralds. I kind of have him on that level, and yeah, I got to go with Nova Prime in that one. I think that he would just overpower GL with the amount of power that he has. And you look at one of the key things was from Annihilation when he beat Annihilus. And do you guys remember how he beat Annihilus? It was,
I believe I do, but I'm going to let you tell it.
It was kind of reminiscent of the end of the Godzilla movie. Where he just pretty much pried his jaw open, rammed his fist right down his throat, and I think he ripped his heart out or something like that. Ripped his guts out. So that was pretty badass, because Annihilus is no joke. He's super tough character from the Negative Zone, and Nova pretty much beat his ass. But yeah, Nova Prime for me.
All right.
I wish they would bring that character back. I haven't read it in a while. I think they have Ed McGuinness drawing it at this point. I'm not sure who's doing the artwork, but I think he's like a kid again at this point or something. But I wish they would bring back that run. And I forgot who did they have for the cover artist. But the cover artist during that time was fucking superb for that character. It was was just a great mix of everything. It had great artwork all the way through. The storylines were just great, and he was an awesome character. And him fighting with World Mind about different things because they didn't agree, they didn't see eye to eye. And,
it was very entertaining.
Yeah, and him up against what's it called? The It's a virus. Technovirus? Is that it?
Yeah, something like that. I can't think
Yeah.
of the name right now.
But that was also like quite interesting, him battling that and everything. And so yeah, I wish they would bring those writers and artists back on that.
Wasn't it the Phalanx? It was the same race that tried to, tangle with the X-Men back in the 90s.
Yeah. Because they've got that weird character that's on New X? No, not New. The
New Warriors?
No.
The New Mutants?
The New Mutants, yeah.
Yeah, that was a Warlock, I think.
Yeah, Warlock, yeah. It was his species.
But yeah, that series was fantastic. I think I have like the first 30 or 40 issues of that or whatever, but the cover artist was phenomenal and all the dialogue in there was like really entertaining book.
Yeah. Agreed.
Alrighty. You guys want to make this the last round?
Sure.
All right.
Sure.
I'm surprised we haven't brought this character up. I think mostly because I feel like when you bring this character up, it's just like, of course he wins everything. He's preparation time and blah 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 blah. But not that the character's bad, but I feel like it's like the trump card of anything. And that character, of course, is Batman.
I'm Batman.
Who are you gonna have fight Batman? Not Superman, not Captain America, but I'm gonna go with someone that I think I might think differently than you guys on how this goes out, but we'll see. And I'm going to say Batman going up against, we kind of brought him up already today, Black Panther. Who would win in that fight?
Battle of the pointy ears and black costumes. Well, Black Panther definitely wins on strength. If we're just going off that, Black Panther is very intelligent and he does have a lot of resources at hand that he can use. He's got a lot of toys that he could bring into play as well. He is definitely a Marvel Universe Batman character. I think the only reason he doesn't get as much praise is because of the character himself, the personality, and the characters around him, his villains and whatnot. But I might go with Black Panther on this because he is a very intelligent guy. He's got power. I think Batman might have more training, which would make it a little bit more level. And they both have fun toys, but I'm not sure if there's anything comparable to Vibranium in the DC universe. But I think I might go with the Black Panther, actually.
Wow, little surprise there. Chuck, do you agree, or are you going with the Bat?
I think I'm going to go with the Bat. It's definitely an intriguing matchup. It's definitely, someone that can give Batman a run for his money for sure. I guess what I would look at is like Thanos once said that the person that he kind of keeps an eye on Earth, the one person that he keeps an eye on is Dr. Doom. And I feel like if he was in the DC universe, I feel like that one person would be Batman. So I guess if I'm using that to scale it, it would seem to me like, and just the impression of stuff that I've read and seen over the years, it seems like Batman is more deserving of that respect. I know Black Panther has had some great feats in and of himself, and I think he's, fought Captain America to a standstill and stuff like that. Of course, he's got his vibranium toys, which would pretty much trump Batman's toys. But I think Batman would find a way to win somehow. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying. Basically, he does have that strategic preparation that is kind of second to none. He's really great at finding weaknesses in people. But I think so is Black Panther, and I honestly thought you guys both would go with Batman. So a little surprised there. But I'm going Black Panther for a couple reasons. Mainly because they're very similar in a lot of ways. They both have a lot of toys. I think if the one person who has more resources than Bruce Wayne would be Black Panther. He has an entire country that he's going with. And the thing about Wakanda is it's never been invaded. Even in the Secret Invasion, didn't get invaded. And one thing about Black Panther is he also has, elements of the mystical arts as well at his disposal, not just his fighting skills. Plus, Black Panther has basically been training since he was a young child to be a warrior. I mean, he's the son of a king, and he's been training his entire life to basically survive. Like they say in Dark Knight Rises, Batman adopted the shadows. Black Panther wasn't born in shadows, but he was certainly born in a culture where he had to basically fight for everything he earned. And regarding the fighting toe to toe with Captain America, I think Captain America is pretty much equal to that of Batman when it comes to fighting skills. So I'm pretty sure they're equal there as well. I just think he has more resources, and I think the mystical arts element will help him. And I don't know. I think the vibranium is a pretty big trump card. So I think Black Panther would actually take it from Batman. I know two people saying Black Panther over Batman is probably going to incite a lot of hatred, because Batman's often, I feel like Owen always says Batman, he'll just prepare and do it. But I think, and you talked about Doctor Doom, there's actually, in the one Black Panther line, Black Panther met with Doctor Doom, and Doctor Doom made it evident that the one person he might respect more than any other, and keeps an eye on more than any other, is that of Black Panther, because I think Black Panther has the intelligence equal to that of Doom, so something to keep in mind. So maybe it'll just be like a standstill too. Maybe it'll be a stalemate, but I give a slight edge to the big Black Panther.
Very nice.
All right, Chuck, Greg, did you have another one?
Yeah, I was thinking we'd have a little bit of a technology battle with Cyborg from DC versus Iron Man from Marvel.
I guess I'll start here since I ended last time. I feel like I need to trade in my geek card because I don't know a great deal about Cyborg besides what I saw in the comic books, but seems like he can pretty much take any type of technology, make it his, or his body is almost all technology in a way, almost like a Terminator. But I think I'd go Iron Man because I feel like Iron Man is more intelligent per se, and I think maybe has more resources. But like I said, I don't know a great deal about Cyborg except for that he was in Teen Titans and Justice League War. So I don't know. Greg, Chuck, do you disagree with me, or would you go Iron Man as well?
I don't know. This one is tough. Honestly, this might be the toughest one of the night for me. Not really sure which way to go on this. I know, like you said, Cyborg is, like, most of his body is technology, and he could pretty much plug into any, computer mainframe and, do wonders with that. I know Tony Stark's a master of getting electronics to work for him, kind of commandeering other people's systems and, hacking into them and stuff like that. So, boy, I think I'm going to defer to Greg here and see what he says and see if anything persuades me.
I'm going to go with Iron Man, actually, because yes, I think at some point Cyborg will try and attack the armor and get into it, but I think that Tony has the intelligence of the technology itself to crack around it and hack back and reverse it and get back, and maybe even hack into the organics of his human side. I just think Tony's intelligence is a little bit higher than Cyborg to win out. And the funny thing is, I don't know that much about Cyborg either, and I picked this matchup. So, so I think I'd go with Iron Man in the win, just for his technology, his intelligence.
Yeah, I
don't think I really helped you out much, Chuck.
A little bit. You make some great points, and I mean, just from what I've seen of Cyborg, he doesn't make the impression on me that he's one of those really high-level characters that would garner that type of respect that Iron Man would. I just think Iron Man has designed his suits to pretty much trump any other electronics in the world and pretty much be prepared for anything. I just get that impression that Iron Man would take this. So I'm going to have to make it unanimous and go with Mr. Stark.
Alrighty. So, Chuck, you have your final battle for tonight. How's it looking?
I do. And for the final battle, we're going to get away from all the high-level stuff. We're going to go down to street level. It's going to be a good old-fashioned brawl. Skill versus skill. Going Winter Soldier versus Nightwing.
Interesting. I think I'll pick this one up. I love Winter Soldier. I think he's a great character. I think I would go Winter Soldier over Nightwing, because I think Nightwing or Winter Soldier is a little bit more ruthless than that of Nightwing. He has the same amount of agility, and you have to consider the fact that Bucky Barnes was Captain America, and he held his own as Captain America. And two, he uses guns, and he will cross that line and kill if necessary. Unlike that of forgot his name already. Jesus. Nightwing. It's funny because
a lot.
Yeah, I think Winter Soldier has more experience. I think he's a better hand-to-hand combat fighter. And if you look at all the skills that Nightwing has, I think Winter Soldier has it, but increase in the fact that he also has a metal arm with enhanced strength also is a big plus. And again, another guy who can fight toe-to-toe with Captain America, and not many people can do that. So I go Winter Soldier.
Very nice. Greg, what say you?
I think Dan made a lot of good points. Winter Soldier definitely has a lot of weapons on his side. He's got all the guns. He's not. I don't think towards the end there he was that much into killing people, but I don't think he might. If it happened, it wasn't too bad. I don't think he would try and kill Nightwing since he's a decent guy. But then the Winter Soldier has that freaking awesome cyborg arm situation going on the side there that Nightwing's going to have a lot of trouble with. I think Nightwing's advantage is his agility and his probably a little bit speedier, especially since he doesn't have that weight of that arm holding him back. Nightwing has a lot of training, but I don't think he's been as seriously trained. No offense to Batman, but I don't think he's been as seriously trained as Winter Soldier. I think Winter Soldier kind of took his training a little bit more seriously since he was he was trained by the Russians under hypnosis. He was trained under hypnosis, whereas Nightcrawler was trained by Batman, yes, but I don't think he took it as seriously as Bruce Wayne took his training. And I think Winter Soldier has taken a little bit more seriously. So I think he has the advantage in the planning and militaristic style. Plus, Bucky has been shown to be pretty decent, intelligent, wise. And when Nightwing was Batman for a little while, he wasn't really as big as detective as Bruce was. I'm going to go with Winter Soldier. I kind of blabbered my way through that one.
Well, I do defer to you a little bit there, Greg, because you've read a little bit more of the modern Batman stuff than I have. So you're probably a little bit more familiar with Nightwing than I am. I would argue that Nightwing in hand-to-hand could possibly be better than Winter Soldier, since you're talking about growing up as Robin, working with Batman since he was a teenager. He may have been... well, I guess I couldn't say that either. I was going to say maybe he's trained longer, but, you look at the Winter Soldier been fighting since he was picked up there in World War II. So there goes my argument. No, I honestly, when I posed this, I kind of had it in my mind that I would go Winter Soldier. I was trying to think of some good reasons to kind of pick Nightwing to kind of make it interesting, but I think, like Dan said, I think the weapons training is more extensive with Winter Soldier. I know Nightwing has his Eskrima sticks and, hand-to-hand, obviously, but Winter Soldier is very highly trained in weapons and strategy, I think, like battle strategy and stuff like that. Honestly, the cyborg arm gives him a huge advantage. It really does. You see, in the Captain America movie, it gave Captain America a tough time, just trying to adjust to that. I think I'd have to agree with you guys and go with Winter Soldier.
Okay. Very nice. So, if you agree or disagree with any of our choices, feel free to sound off in the comment section. All right, but before we bring this episode to a close, we will continue our unknown saga with Episode 5, Chemical Imbalance. It's night at the University of Monmouth. A brick building that contains the Science Center is quiet and dark. Almost all of it, but one of the laboratories, is active. Beakers with different colored liquids sit atop flaming Bunsen burners. A man in black sits upon a stool, mumbling, looking at the pile of papers in front of him.
This has to work. It needs to work. Everything is right here. It all adds up. This is the night. This is the night that I will show them. I will show them that I was right. They were wrong. They were wrong to fire me.
A small noise on the other side of the room goes unnoticed by the man as two security guards enter the room.
You there. Who are you and what are you doing here?
I'm Dr. Garrett Wright. You must leave me be. Making history here.
Looks like we got another crazy here, Frank. If you would please come with us, sir. We have some important questions for you.
I can't do that. I'm at a critical stage. It needs to be monitored. And I am not crazy.
Sir, you need to come with us now. Garrett pulls a gun from the desk and points it at the two guards.
Put it down. It doesn't need to be like this.
I won't. I will not back down again. Never again. This formula will save millions of lives. It is my life.
Give us the gun!
No! Now that the interruption is concluded, back to work.
He walks towards the end of the workbench, covered with all manners of glass implements, filled with various liquids at all sorts of temperatures. He walks to the very last beaker and picks it up. It contains a thick, red liquid that looks somewhat like blood. A black shade smashes through the large pane glass window. Shards of deadly sharp glass go flying and scattering in the room, and an even deadlier blade is held in the shade's hands.
Garrett Wright, we need to talk.
Unknown stands in a guarded pose, ready for whatever may come. Garrett Wright's eyes are in a crazy search for an exit. That is until a heavy weight in his hand reminds him of the gun that he has brought.
Leave me alone. Why won't any of you leave me alone?
Unknown jumps to action as his sword swinging around, deflecting bullets like they did that night he killed. Wright runs out of bullets and charges, either not caring about the sword or too crazed to care. Unknown's reflexes set to action and try to block the man running at him, but everything happens too quick, even for him. He makes a mistake. The sword runs straight through Garrett Wright's stomach. Weakly, he speaks.
I can fix this. I can fix this.
Oh, no, not again.
With a quick flick of the wrist, Garrett tosses his newly made elixir into the back of his throat and swallows. Then his body goes lax and dangles. Unknown lowers the body to the floor and walks over to the dead security guards.
I was too late.
To save the guards, yes, but at least you avenged their deaths.
I didn't want that either. I just wanted some answers.
The sound of dragging stones suddenly begins to fill the room.
That might be possible, after all.
All right, and welcome back. I hope you enjoyed episode 5 of Unknown Chemical Imbalance. But I think that's going to be it for this week. You guys have anything else before we bring this episode to a close?
Farewell, I'm saying goodbye. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun.
I guess I'll take that as a no.
I am officially talked out for the evening.
If you're not talked out and you would like to comment or let us know anything, feel free to send us communication, and there's tons of different ways to do so. You can email us at feedback@geekcastradio.com. You can comment us on Twitter, on Facebook, search Talking in Circles or Geekcast Radio. I'm also on Twitter at Movie Revolt, and probably the best way if you go to geekcastradio.com or nerdly.uk.co. You can also comment on our episode posts. Oh, I would also like to thank, I meant to bring this up earlier in the episode, but I'd like to thank the new iTunes reviews we got recently. We really appreciate those. So if you can go to iTunes and give us a review, that's a huge help. 5 stars appreciated, but if you don't want to give us the 5 stars, feel free. But we love those reviews. They're huge. They're helpful in getting us up higher in the iTunes rankings. But anyways, that will bring us to the end of the episode for this week. Make sure to join us next week. Same time, same channel, same podcast feed. But for now,
this has been Chuck.
This has been Greg, or Nosferatu.
And this has been Dan, the male Dan, and we've been Talking in Circles. We'll see you next week.
Was that a Thor reference? Or
that was a Thor
sex
reference.
Change? For real? Or do you have like a twin sister that's also named Dan? I'm really confused, Dan.
There's a lot of ways to go with this, but I'm going somewhere of a Thor reference.
Okay.
I thought you were going with something like Mailman, but Mail Dan. It's like a mailman named Dan.
I'm a Dan delivery message. I don't know. Oh man, that sounds wrong on different levels.